So let's try to reproduce it. We will not make an exact copy. We take two canvases, 50 centimeters wide, 70 centimeters high. We don't apply anything on it. We don't rub it with anything. Let the colors be bright. So let's make the drawing. So here's the main flower, the main tulip. You keep the pencil like this in your hand and draw the tulip. It should be like cut out from the background. It should not be natural at this point. Later during the work it will round up. In such works, in similar works, there is always subordination between the objects on the painting. So here is the main one, then the next subordinates, the third subordinate, and the fourth one. It should be seen, this arranging, so it differs from on the contrast, the colors, the intense or non-intense. So if the object is subordinate, so that the colors are less intense, the contrasts are not that bright, and so on and so forth. So we take the brush. Is it the bristles? Yeah, it's the bristle brush, the old one. We just rub down the colors. Well, first of all, it's a relatively cheap brush, so you will not grudge about it. And as far as it's harsh enough and firm enough, it's able to rub down the colors. It's exactly what we need. It will be like undercoat, like coloring. Yes, that's right. So these are going to be shades and penumbras. They will be painted in a very thin layer. First of all, let's wash out the whitewash from our brush, and then we take the alizarin crimson. Alizarin red? No, crimson. Before I worked with red alizarin, but actually alizarin crimson gives a wider range of tints in when it's mixed with other colors. It's quite a cold color, so we can add some cadmium in it, cadmium red, so it gets a little bit warmer. Here you can see that I'm adding some oil in the colors. Do you think there still should be corners, like it's been cut? Well, you may round up a little bit, but it's okay. And if, for instance, we have the warm light, well, it's a little bit more complicated. For instance, we have the hot light from the sun, and from this point we have the blue undertone. Well, to tell it easier, let's put it like this. There are no shades, no shadows, only undertones. We have the sunlight, and all the rest are just undertones. From the sky we will have blue undertone. All the objects in the environment, it will give some undertone on the object as well. So if we have all the objects around in warm colors, so it will give us the warm shades, the warm undertones, so that you could understand there are no shades, just undertones. So for instance, the undertone of the sky, and it's not just the undertone, the blue one, for instance, it's a mixture, it's a mix of own object's color and the undertone color. For instance, if the apple is yellow and the undertone is blue, so the shade will be greenish, and so on. everything is reflected, and actually the light is also a kind of a reflection of the undertone. So the sunlight just gets reflected on the object. For instance, the sunlight on the green apple will have a kind of a citrine, lemon yellow overtone. Any object has these undertones and overtones. Surely on glossy surfaces they are easily seen. On dim, dull surfaces it's a little bit more complicated to see them. And what is important, if the closer two objects are situated to each other, the brighter and more intense undertone would be seen on the object. And if the objects are far away from each other, the undertone is weaker. And it's quite important that now we are working with shades, and even on the lit parts of the flowers we make some kind of shade. So here it will be like gray and greenish tints on the flower, though it's going to be a lit part, and here we will have an overtone. So let's make them all different. So this one is going to be orange and yellow. Do not try to make an exact copy of my tulips. Just paint yours. Don't try to pick the right colors. Don't try to pick the right shape. Please don't mock at your tulips. You will just you'll rape them out, really. And anyway, if you don't copy that much, you just give to your work whatever it asks for. You make it organic, and at the end you just follow the colors of your own work, and at the end you will have a seamless and smooth work. If you try to copy every tint and every shape, every stroke, at the end you will get something really weak and unconvincing. Here you may just improvise, be spontaneous. You just make a stroke, a spontaneous one, and at the end the work is vibrant, is alive. Now at this point paint with bold tints, bold colors, just open colors without any whitewash and without smoky tints. If it's orange, just use orange color, that's it. If it's yellow, just use yellow. So now we can take the palette knife and remove the excessive paint. So we are coming back again to the issue that our undercoat should be very thin. Not because we are saving the paints, the colors, but because it helps us making the work tender in terms of tints. When you're working with colors almost like with the modeling clay, it turns out to be just a dirty paintings. There are no delicate combinations, no delicate tints, which is, well, let's say it's not that bad, but it's not the same. The undercoat should be sleek in this case. Some undercoats are rough, this one is sleek. Now we can add some shades, some more shades without whitewash. So we are building up a framework. So we are showing off the whole color range that we have. So the deep, very deep, quite dark color. Just in some places we are adding some undertones, some dark undertones. So if we imagine that this is a melody, so this is going to be the lowest note. Yeah, this is going to be a low note, a deep note. Please do not use the black color here. This dark tint is enough just to see and to show the wide range of colors. If we need the more tender, more pastel tints, we just add some whitewash in all the colors, and on the contrary, we make the range narrower, more narrow. So Natasha, please look at the painting from the distance. If you look at the painting just at one stroke, at one point, you see this phrase, and that phrase, and at the end there is no fairy tale, you know. But if you see the whole painting, you can you look at it not like this part of the painting, this stroke decorates this particular area, but that this particular stroke does not contradict with another part of the painting. So that at the end we have a harmonized painting, a harmonized work.
И закладываем немножко темнее сразу, поскольку мы работать с ним будем. Такой темноватый цвет.
So here let's take the turquoise and the brown one, and here we'll have kind of a smoky color at this part of the background. And by default we just take it a little bit darker than it's supposed to be. And here we should paint as close as possible to the flowers outline. You may paint it with the flat brush, with bristle brush, no matter. The background should have several tints as well. It should not be homogeneous all the way on the painting. And paint as close as possible to the flowers. Such kind of works like alla prima should be painted with as little resources as possible. So save your time, save your inspiration. Well, as you know, the background should be a little bit more dark, should be darker and more intense.
Таким работам это позволительно.
You see that in some places the canvases are showing through. It's okay. It's just fine. It's normal for such a kind of paintings.
Без грязи только избавляйтесь. Теперь, допустим, подсохло у нас, хотя по идее это должно время немножко пройти, должен выветриться, разбавиться.
So we get rid of the harsh outlines, but take care that you do not smudge the colors. No dirty tints should be there. Now we should wait a little bit so that the diluent fades away a little bit, and then we start to round up our flowers. So far we cannot continue working with background because you see that it smears and it's not very convenient to paint like this. Now we work with the flowers and we use, as always, lighter colors, and we follow the shape with bristle brush. So here's the petal. It has the center, always the center line. We mark it.
Я не справлюсь, я не умею их рисовать, я даже не знаю, сколько там лепестков в тюльпанах, то ли 6, то ли 4. Рисуйте образ. Так, во-первых, проще, так интереснее.
And please, here we are not trying to be a plant scientists. We are not trying to be very detailed oriented. We are just symbolically rendering. Don't try to paint the exact tulips, just paint the image. First of all, it's easier and it's more interesting and it's cooler, and the paintings looks better. Surely some details are true to life, but basically they should not be perfect. Please express your inner artist, be a real artist. Sure, you could try to paint it, but it will look ridiculous. But when you set yourself free and try to symbolically render the flower and the image, you will have a nice paintings. But it's very important to be relaxed, to feel relaxed. Just believe me, I cannot paint very nice tulips. I'm not very detail-oriented, like, for instance, Levashov. Maybe I could draw it, but if I had 1 week for one painting. But it's not interesting. I prefer just to sprinkle some colors, just to make some occasional strokes, to swipe with the brush somewhere, and it happened to be more spontaneous, more alive. So pay attention that this color is quite soft. Before I start working, I usually dilute the colors up. In my case, I use the mineral spirit. You can also use turpentine, but do not use the mixture of lacquer, diluent, and oil. What is the perk is that when you put it on the canvas, it's soft, but then 5 minutes passes and it gets thinner and it gets tougher. So when you start working, you just squeeze out a couple of tubes with whitewash on the palette. Also, I use I also dilute up the such colors as Marcia's brown and orange. They are quite thin as well, and it's much more comfortable to work with them like this.
Работать плечом еще очень хорошо по причине того, что мы дальше будем писать.
So just have a look at the way we work. We don't work with hand. We work with arm, even with the whole arm. By this way, by this with this method, it's easier and faster, and the strokes turn out to be lively. And here you see the kind of stroke that we can use when it's a kind of broken stroke. What kind of brush is it? It's just some kind of soft flat brush, maybe synthetic fiber film, maybe weasel, I don't know. So you just work with your arm swiftly. If you paint slowly, then all of the colors will be soaked to the canvas. But when you work fast, quick, then the strokes are breathtaking, they are vibrant. And pay attention that the colors are not mixed till the end. You just take one color, another one, the third one, and you just mix it a little bit. And the stroke should be with fibers of plain tints, of bold ones. So they are put next to each other, these three tints. And they're not homogeneous, they're not mixed. So you see that here is the kind of stroke that is homogenic, but it's different. It's not bad. It's just different. And on your painting, there should be several types of strokes. Just make a note for yourself when you paint. Just something to remember, some useful notes. For instance, do not mix the colors till the end. Then to work with the broken stroke. Let's call it like this: the broken stroke. And by the way, for using this stroke, the previous layer should be dry enough. Here it's not that dry. So here you can take this white brush and start making some important details from the rim to the beginning, following the shape, but not till the middle, not till the end, right? Yeah, that's right. Later on, when it gets dried, we will make the fibers. Do you remember what we talked about before? We can get our undercoat later. Something that is under this layer of colors. And then we make the tintage, we stamp our fibers a little bit. Well, actually, these kind of things we usually do by the end of the work, but I'm getting a little bit ahead of myself because I will not come up to you until some time, so that you had some task not to get bored, you could do something. I will leave you for a moment. All the flowers should resonate with each other, have something in common. Even if in the model you don't have such a echo, it's better to add some common tints. In real life, you can have like yellow tulip, orange tulip, rose tulip, but as an artist, you can make them more interesting. Here you can see that with this brush, the strokes are also turned off, so that you get a kind of grains of colors. The colors should be put differently. You should have different kind of strokes. Somewhere you can stamp it with the finger. Somewhere you use the palette knife. By the way, the background we can make with a palette knife. Different kind of strokes. We'll start from the background because it's more natural, it's more harmonic to start with the environment, and then we include the objects in this environment, not vice versa. So let's leave it to get dried. So Natasha, feel free, just create and be natural, do whatever you want, make whatever you want, I'll fix it. Don't be inhibited, don't uptight. At the beginning, it's recommended to treat your canvases almost aggressively. Just rush on it, just paint aggressively. If I look at my older works now, where I worked just for myself, not for an order, I can see that those paintings are much better, they are much expressive, much more expressive. If you'll pick up the color, I would not recommend it, but if you want to, you may just get some colors from my painting and you can pick up the tone from it. It's very important that at this point your painting should be quite intense and saturated with bold colors. And later we will work with lighter colors. This is the way oil painting works. You start with the darker ones and then lighter, lighter and lighter. Later on you would understand all this system. You will have all this system in your head. It just every time you analyze, it gets easier. So far, maybe there is a mess in your head, but actually there are just some basic laws. This one from darker to lighter, then some temperature rules, and then you'll understand that actually it is all very easy. You'll stop feeling fear. You will be braver, bolder, and then you'll start thinking about perspective, about composition, and then all these technique issues, technique details would not be a problem anymore. You would not even think about it. You will just see the perspective and see the whole paintings. Okay, Natasha, let me praise you. I would like to make a compliment. Quite nice work. So now it's dry enough. An hour passed, so now the colors are quite solid. Now you can take the palette knife, or, well, for this size of painting, it's better to take the brush. And with the quite dry colors again, you make the environment, the background. The color should not be diluted. You take just naked colors, almost dry one, and then you get this grains effect on canvases. You look here, and at the same moment you overlook the whole painting, so that at the end everything looks naturally and harmonized.
Очень жирную, да, нужно наносить?
Жидкая. Жидкая.
Жидкая.
Ну, краски должно быть много, и она такая должна быть жидкая, но не прозрачная. Такая укрывистая, хорошая.
So here the color is quite thick, right? No, actually it's more liquid. There should be a lot of color, but it should not be clear. It should cover the canvas very well, very well.
Получается прям сразу два цвета, как переход такой.
Ну, да.
Это потому что вы так смешиваете на палитре, да?
Да, сразу берем темный цвет и разбеливаем с одной стороны темный, с другой светленький должен.
So here you get at the same time, just with one movement, two colors. Yes, we take a darker tint and we add some white in it. You may also get some third tint. Don't mix it till the end. And here you see the fibers of the leaf. You you curl the brush a little bit if we need the curve, so that we curl the brush. Later, when the colors are dried, you may add some shining overtones in it, but it will be later, not now.
То есть все время очень жидкая консистенция, да, когда вы пишете на лепестки? И даже когда вот эти края, да?
Вот эти, ну можно немножко, смотрите, если жидко, она пойдет легко и плавно. Если сделать не
all the time when you are painting the petals, you use diluted paint, right? Well, if we take diluted paint, it will go smoothly. If you take the solid paintings, the solid colors, you will get the turn of stroke. You should have both types of strokes, actually, depending on what effect you are trying to reach.
Красивые такие лепестки получаются зеленые.
Да, вот лепесточек еще можно посередине дать какую-нибудь прожилку, такую ножиком взять или светленькую, или ну что-то.
Such beautiful leaves. Yeah, also you can add the fiber at the center. You take the palette knife, or it can be lighter ones as well, and you make it like this. So if you make it right, sometimes you get a very natural leaf. I still look at those beautiful leaves. You also have beautiful leaves. It's okay. Don't forget to stamp, to smooth the paintings a little bit. Right after the diluent fades away, you may stamp it a bit. So now it's time to sprinkle some colors on it, just to enrich the style of our painting. So let me show you how to do this. You take the mineral spirits or the spirits of turpentine. Don't take the mix of oil, lacquer and diluent. And you add some color in it, for instance turquoise. So you should dilute it almost till a very, very liquid consistency. Then you put the paintings right on the floor, and you sprinkle with a palette knife, taking some directions or without any direction. So you make it brave, feel free, because we can remove it easily later on if you don't like the way the drops fell. You may add some other tints like red one, for instance. So that's enough. Now you dry it out a little bit so that the diluent fades away. By the way, if we used the mix of lacquer, oil, and diluent, that would take much more time to fade it away. Now we take the just ordinary brush, and where we don't like our drops, we remove it. Well, it's better to wait a little bit more time so that there are no traces, no dirt on your paint. You can see that you see that there was a drop, and now there is nothing. Here it felt quite nice. You should use it carefully, moderately. It's just an accent. It's a very delicate detail for your work. Well, maybe red one was not the very best choice, but it's removed easily. You may also sprinkle with the brush like this, but you should dry out the brush. You apply some color on it and then dry it out. This is the way you can paint snow. You can also put the painting on the floors, and you step on the chair and just sprinkle some from a very high distance. This is the way you can paint mimosa, those spring flower that we usually present to our ladies on the 8th of March. It gets very beautiful. Also, you may use air pistol. Well, I don't feel like taking it out, but I will. So let me show you how to do this.
Причем разные краски берете, белую, красную, какую-то еще.
You just use colors as bullets. There should be enough gas in it. And you may use the mix of colors. It gets amazingly beautiful. You should use it with care. Also another method, another clue that I will show you. You just put some color and you shut, and you see that it's mixed in a very interesting and creative way. The same is with a palette knife. You may vary colors, the colors that you need, and you add a special flair to your painting. But please remember that it sprinkles also all the way around. So be careful and use it in some place where you will not spot anything.
Выключать все это, ну, если с какой-то картинки прятать ее из натуры. То есть доставать работу уже из...
So now we don't need the life model anymore.
Не быть зависимым очень сильно.
It's better to distract, to forget maybe even about your life model. You can create yourself, do not depend on the outdoor scene or life model. Of course, we cannot do without life model. But to be a slave of it, it's not very good, because it dries you out as the artist. All the time you will waste even more time on technique perfectionism. But you can follow another route. You can follow the images, you can be free, you can just render the images the way you say them.
Так, вот палочка ищется, если нам нужно написать не палочка, этот стебель. не просто вот как бы на глаз, а всегда желательно прикрыть один глаз и посмотреть и подставить кисточку.
So now we need to paint the colors, and it gets usually quite hard. You should close one of your eyes and put the brush like this. So you just look for the center, for the stem. Usually when you just look at it and you are mistaken, you don't get the direction right, but when you put the brush, you find it very well, very easily, and then you can paint the stalk. So if you are in doubts, you can always close one of your eyes and put the brush. This method works not only with flowers but also with other objects like vases, for instance.
Такие нежные оттенки. Смотрите, грязи вообще нету у вас. Светотень хорошо.
Well, also a very nice job.
Вот этот странненький какой-то.
Ну да.
Very tender tints, no dirt at all. Very nice job.
Должна где-нибудь вот здесь. Вот уже рефлексирует.
The undertones and shades are very well painted, but this one is a little bit out of order. It's quite dark one, and it looks strange. So you may fix it. It should not be that dark, because this kind of tone should be downwards under the tulips. And then, well, you may just remake it. It's easy.
Да, есть еще возможность чуть-чуть бликануть. По самым выпуклым, вот представляете, где там у нас источник света.
And also what I would add is some more shiny overtones. You just imagine the light source and you add almost white overtones. Almost. So well done. You too, well done. You work very fast and it's good. Usually for such works it's okay to spend an hour and a half, 2 hours maximum. If it lasts longer, it's worse, because you add some not necessary detail, some odd one out details. I would advise you to make a photo of your work every quarter of an hour. Later, when you analyze it, you may find out what have you done wrong, because at some points you just start making the odd work. You don't need it anymore, and the fresh side is always useful, you know. Well, finally, tomorrow you may fix some things you don't like.